and calling them toxic as if her fans, because KTV is a Caitlin Clark fan. She's my favorite basketball player to watch, male or female. Point blank, period. Now she's calling us toxic for saying the obvious about the sabotage that was going on in this league and how this woman has been targeted since before she even stepped foot in it, all while Stephanie White wants to ignore the facts of what the other players in this league have done, from disrespecting fans, starting fake racial.
Prepare for this, because Stephanie White's statement has sent shockwaves through the WNBA, throwing it into an absolute cyclone of disarray. She did not simply casually comment. She publicly referred to supporters as toxic, a direct, obvious shot that several people immediately saw as being meant squarely at Caitlin Clark. Clark has an extremely dedicated and ever-expanding fan base. And let me tell you, that sparked nothing short of a firestorm of fury on social media and throughout the basketball community. This was not an unintentional slip-up or a casual misstep. No, this felt like a determined, purposeful statement, and fans are clamoring for answers. More significantly, they are vehemently demanding her immediate dismissal from her coaching position with the Indiana Fever. The entire league is reeling from this, wondering how a coach could so shamelessly alienate the same audience, the fervent supporters who are indisputably driving its unparalleled, record-breaking expansion. This unprecedented and frankly shocking attack on the very fan base that has single-handedly catapulted the WNBA into mainstream consciousness has sent seismic shockwaves through every single corner of professional women's basketball, particularly women's basketball, sparking a firestorm of controversy that simply cannot be ignored.
The facts of what the other players in this league have done, from disrespecting fans, starting fake racial investigations, going on platform, I'm gonna give you the facts that Stephanie White wanted to leave out. This is nasty work. Welcome to Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel, hit that bell notification, and hype the video. Let's get right into things on a Sunday. Let's get into it. So, we had this article here. Obviously, Stephanie White was recently on Sue Bird's podcast, where she and
it is women's basketball that IT is critical to recognize that this is not an isolated episode that occurred out of nowhere. No, this is undoubtedly the result of a deeply ingrained pattern of behavior, efforts behavior. In the months preceding this, Stephanie White had openly and continuously downplayed Caitlin Clark's monumental actions. Clark consistently and quite simply stated Kelson Mitchell was the team's major objective. This narrative, as you might expect, clashed so sharply and so clearly with the undeniable reality that Clark's arrival literally single-handedly transformed not only the Fever's profile, but the entire league's viewership figures, sending them skyrocketing to unprecedented levels. Many insiders, those closest to the situation, discreetly claimed that White was eventually pushed, and let's be clear, press, to acknowledge Clark's key profile, as well as his central and pivotal function. This seemed less like a genuine, heartfelt recognition and more like a hesitant capitulation, a frantic attempt at damage management. You see, the tension has been simmering below the surface for far too long, waiting for a spark. And now, with this last extraordinarily dangerous verbal assault on the fan base, it has unquestionably escalated into a full-fledged crisis.
Did too, but they don't need to be a part of the Caitlin Clark conversation. Caitlin Clark is the reason for the boom in the WNBA, point blank, period. It's not because of no Angel Reese. It's not because of no Paige Beckers. They were some of the lowest. They had some of the lowest attendance for their games throughout the entire season. So I don't know why they keep trying to lump them in with Caitlin Clark, but whatever. It's hard to imagine the WNBA players would get vastly increased salaries they're going to receive as part of a ratified CBA, or at least their salaries wouldn't have increased to the same degree. Now, we know they wouldn't be asking for all this money if it wasn't for...
So, where did these divisive remarks originate? According to the transcript, White's comments were prompted by his appearance on Suburbs Eye View podcast, which is a rather well-known platform. While she was apparently addressing the WNBA's tremendous and unexpected expansion, which we had just discussed, she remarked, and I quote, "I like to shift the toxicity around our league." Clark central on the surface. Hearing that sentence in isolation seems like a perfectly noble, even laudable goal, right? Who doesn't want to reduce toxicity? But here's the key distinction. The context of her remarks, together with the ensuing and rapid fan reactions, quickly presented a very different and far more troubling picture. Fans with a keen eye for what was going on quickly saw through what they viewed as a thinly veiled criticism. They quickly understood that her definition of toxicity conveniently ignored the obvious, well-documented actions and conduct of specific players, as well as organizational inadequacies. Instead of addressing those internal issues, she looked to be simply shifting blame wholly and entirely onto the impassioned fans who, frankly, dared to speak up and express their views.
Now, you are ignoring the things that the players have done. These players have gone on. Arike Agumbawale was on ESPN during Caitlin Clark's rookie year, calling out fans saying, "We don't want you." We had people like Ryan Howard go at a post-game podium and disrespect Asia Wilson fans because they showed up and cheered for Asia Wilson at an Atlanta Dream game that was a home game for the Atlanta Dream. And she gets mad that people are cheering for Asia Wilson at an Atlanta Dream game. So now hard-working fans.
And the hypocrisy in all of this organization, according to a vast majority of observers and supporters, is truly stunning. While Stephanie White was out there criticizing toxic supporters with such intensity, she intentionally and obviously missed a litany of player and fan behaviors that have undoubtedly fed negativity and controversy in the league for quite some time. We're not talking about little squabbles that fuel squabbles here. We're talking about highly public incidents in which players openly mistreated fans. Stunning charges of phony racial investigations were made, and public spats and rivalries were aired on numerous social media platforms for all to witness. These were more than simply isolated whispers in the locker room. No, these were high-profile, verifiable occurrences that intentionally and significantly contributed to an already volatile and often unpleasant environment in the league. However, these actions appear to have escaped White's public disapproval, creating serious, reasonable concerns about her true objective and what she is truly trying to accomplish. The double standard here, my friends, is not only obvious, but also difficult for anyone with an objective perspective to ignore.
To go to a basketball game can't cheer for who they want to cheer for. So she's mad that she was disrespecting fans for cheering for Asia Wilson, but in the same breath, we had Kalia Copper of the Phoenix Mercury get mad and call out fans for booing DeWanna Bonner, who left the Indiana Fever, who was on the opposing Phoenix Mercury team when they went to play in Indiana. So fans can't cheer for an Asia Wilson on a road game, but they also can't boo an opposing player coming into their arena.
Earn money to attend a basketball game and not cheer for the team they want to support. So she is upset that she was mistreated by the game and by fans for supporting Asia Wilson. But in the same breath, we had Kalia Copper of the Phoenix Mercury become upset and call out fans for booing Dana Bonner, who quit the Indiana Fever and joined the opposing Phoenix Mercury club when they went to play in Indiana. So, fans can't applaud for Asia Wilson on the road, but they also can't boo the opposition player when he enters the arena. What? So, the essential question is, what can fans do? Or, better still, what have the fans done? Let us rapidly rewind the clock to a moment before Caitlin Clark's question. Clark has never been to a WNBA game. Even then, the league was replete with internal intrigues and simmering tensions. We have players like Angel Reese publicly debating and even promoting the concept of playing only in alternative leagues, such as the much-talked-about Unrivaled League. The much-discussed Unrivaled League. Make no mistake, this was a direct and intended jab at the WNBA's current structure and perceived flaws. Not long after, athletes such as Sata Sabali made bold declarations, publicly asking, "Pay us what you owe us." Unrivaled League. Even wearing protest shirts during the extremely visible All-Star break. These were not small complaints. These were unmistakable, very visible indicators of long-standing difficulties inside the player community and, arguably, within the league's own infrastructure. And all of this occurred before the so-called toxic fans, many of whom are now linked with Caitlin Clark, began to express their dissatisfaction. When you look at the big picture, the easy narrative of fan-induced turmoil isn't only incorrect. It is a terrible and demonstrable perversion of the facts, as demonstrated by Ruth.
On a road game, but they also can't boo an opposing player coming into their arena. what can fans do? We've seen all types of fans be called racist. Black fans of Caitlin Clark, like myself, be called the raccoons, all types of stuff. These people come at the fans all the time. The players. You never address the things that these players have done to contribute to any negativity around the league. You never do that. It took Nafisa Collier getting taken out.
Now, let's get down to brass taxes. Truth.tax. The WNBA's recent, truly remarkable surge in popularity is primarily, if not almost altogether, due to Caitlin Clark's undeniable gravitational pull. This isn't. It's a quantifiable truth. Despite this blindingly evident truth, continual and often explicit efforts are undertaken to lessen her singular significance. How? By awkwardly lumping in other renowned players like Angel Reese, who isn't Reese, and Paige Buckers, despite the fact that their individual teams consistently have some of the lowest attendance statistics in the league. This consistent, almost purposeful downplaying of Clark's singular transformative influence, even as a league and teams use a great appeal to sell tickets and raise ratings, is a profound, deep source of true fan dissatisfaction. It's a difficult pill to swallow for fans who physically watch their favorite players' contributions be downplayed and ignored, while others appear to be striving to ride her coattails and luxuriate in her reflected glory. This aggravating relationship, make no mistake, directly generates the apparent poison that Stephanie White now so fiercely condemns.
About fans. The organization, there's been organizations such as the Indiana Fever who lied and hid injuries about Caitlin Clark the whole time, all while using her to sell tickets and saying she's game to game and day to day for months at a time. You don't think that contributed? See, you guys want to make this just about the fans, and I've watched all of these players go out and disrespect fans, all while trying to use the money and the fandom that Caitlin Clark has brought in to capitalize and to make money off of. What are we talking about here?
And this is where the financial ramifications become clear. This remarkable growth in popularity, fueled mostly, if not entirely, by Caitlin Clark, is directly responsible for the massive raises that WNBA players are now set to receive under the new collective bargaining agreement. Let me be quite clear. Without her, these significant life-changing wage raises would most likely not have occurred to this extent, if at all. This is a plain, unadorned truth. However, many players and coaches in the league appear to be extremely hesitant, if not unwilling, to admit this fact. This creates a massive and extremely unsettling divergence between the league's financial beneficiaries, the players and coaches, and the very engine, the key catalyst of that financial development, Clark's newly engaged fan base. Then to turn around and condemn, if not attack, the same fans who made it all possible by investing their time, money, and love, feels like a purposeful slap in the face.
Oh, the fans are making this No. We are calling it like we see it. It's that simple. If you want to call out the toxicity, call out everything around the board. Call out the people that started fake racial investigate. Call out all of it. Don't just try to make it about Caitlin Clark fans. And this is why I believe Stephanie White needs to be fired. And I stand on that. Get down in the comments. Let me know what you think. This is Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment.
The situation reached a fever pitch when fans began to point out specific examples of player disrespect that had eluded White's rebuke. Think about it. Rakuna Williams of the Las Vegas Aces appeared on ESPN during Clark's first season and boldly proclaimed, "We don't want you." That was a direct, frank, and extremely nasty message to prospective admirers. Many were enticed to the league because of Clark. This kind of blatant hatred from players against a rising, hungry fan base is exactly the kind of toxicity that Stephanie White should have confronted, not ignored. Instead, she chose to direct her anger and attention straight at the fans who simply want to enjoy the game and enthusiastically support their favorite athletes. The hypocrisy in this case is staggering. Then there's Ryan Howard of the Atlanta Dream, who publicly mocked A.J. Wilson supporters. A.J. Wilson, a star footballer, for merely cheering on their favorite star during a dream home. Imagine that. Fans who paid their hard-earned money to attend a professional game were effectively told they couldn't cheer for the team of their choice. This was not a one-time, isolated incident. It was a brazen exhibition of what many saw as athlete entitlement and a complete disrespect for paying customers, which are the lifeblood of any professional sport. Such behavior by athletes immediately contributes to a bad, unwelcoming environment. Nonetheless, White stayed notably mute on these specific player behaviors while vehemently denouncing fan reactions. The Phoenix Mercury's Kalani Brown perpetuated the double standard. When Johnny Carrington, a former Indiana Fever player, returned to Indianapolis with the opposition club, people booed her, as is customary in sports. Brown then publicly chastised the fans for this. So let me get this straight. Fans cannot applaud for an opposing star, such as A.J. Wilson, on the road, nor can they boo a former player who has left their squad. What can fans do without immediately being called poisonous or disrespectful? This contradictory, confused, and plain arrogant gatekeeping by players exacerbates friction, animosity, and division within the WNBA community. This isn't just about rare instances of player-fan conflict. This becomes much darker. Black supporters of Caitlin Clark, including the content producer who fearlessly exposed White's comments, have faced terrible charges, including being labeled raccoons by parts inside the WNBA player community. This targeted, profoundly offensive abuse coming from within the league hints at a far deeper, far more insidious, and frankly dangerous form of toxicity that Stephanie White and others conveniently and problematically ignore. It's a shocking fact that supporters who merely support a player are subjected to such crude and racially charged abuse from individuals they adore. The WNBA establishment and certain players have repeatedly promoted the narrative that fans are the problem. But let's look at the facts. The players were to blame for Caitlin Clark becoming the league's most flagrantly foul player, a damning statistic that speaks much about her tough, often unjustified, treatment on the court. This violent, often unpunished action contributed considerably to the legitimate fan indignation, which rightfully questioned the officiating and the clear targeting of a key player. To criticize fans for reacting to such clear unfairness, for pointing out evident double standards, is to entirely miss the point and brazenly shift blame. Let us now shift our attention to the Indiana Fever organization. They participated in highly questionable health practices for Caitlin Clark while working directly under White's supervision. The team was widely accused of outright lying and intentionally concealing her injury for months, all while continuing to parade her on the court to sell tickets, maximizing their financial advantage at a potential risk. Conflicting injury reports from the same organization left fans perplexed, outraged, and feeling badly used and deceived. This institutional deceit undoubtedly contributes to the overarching hostility and lack of trust that pervades the league. However, this was neatly missed in White's broad criticism of toxic fans. Consider the bigger perspective. The WNBA is presently in critical discussions for its next collective bargaining agreement, with player compensation unsurprisingly being a strongly discussed topic. The tremendous surge in popularity, owing largely and undeniably to Caitlin Clark, is the sole reason players can seek significantly higher compensation. To publicly condemn the fans who created this enormous leverage while profiting from their enthusiasm, attention, and financial commitment indicates a fundamental lack of self-awareness, gratitude, and strategic insight. It's a very short-sighted tactic that could alienate the golden goose that is currently laying all these profitable eggs. The core of the argument opposing Stephanie White's attitude is really straightforward and boils down to this. If you actually want to address toxicity in the league, you must do so. This entails having the confidence to call out players who launch bogus racial probes, disrespect fans at home games, boo former teammates, and publicly trash new audiences and key groups. It entails holding organizations accountable for falsifying injury reports, potentially endangering player health, and treating athletes as mere ticket-selling commodities rather than treasured assets. Selective outrage, which targets only one element of the community, the fans, is not a viable answer. It is actually an intrinsic element of the problem. The WNBA is currently at a critical moment, experiencing tremendous expansion but also dealing with significant internal struggle and deep divide. The internet discussion about players, teams, and rivalries, particularly between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, has undoubtedly bred ugliness and tribalism. Stephanie White's approach of isolating and blaming fans, on the other hand, not only fails to address the root causes of the league's problems, but also actively exacerbates the existing divisions, transforming a moment of incredible opportunity into a crucible of resentment and alienating the very people required for long-term success. Instead of creating an inclusive, inviting environment, White's ill-advised words have drawn a clear, divisive line in the sand, thereby informing a sizable, passionate segment of the fan base that their enthusiasm, loyalty, and passion are simply unacceptable. This, my friends, is not how you construct a successful, robust league. It's precisely how you drain the same energy, investment, and enthusiasm that keep it going. The WNBA requires unity, not division, and it sorely needs leaders, including coaches, who are willing to acknowledge concerns from all sides rather than simply those that are politically convenient to attack. Her actions have undoubtedly cast a large shadow over the WNBA's most devoted and quickly expanding fan base. The push for Stephanie White's dismissal isn't simply about rage. Its core message is one of accountability. When a coach publicly criticizes the league's top star and alienates a massive fan following, it has a direct detrimental influence on the organization and its future prospects. Such divisive attitude is just not helpful to creating a healthy team atmosphere or developing a successful business model in the long run. Fans are rightfully asking that individuals in positions of leadership embody the essential values of fairness, openness, and respect for all contributors to the league's success. That absolutely includes a paying audience. The toxic moniker, which is now weaponized and applied to individuals who dare to point out systemic weaknesses, is a handy but fundamentally cynical approach to muzzle valid criticism and deflect difficult truths. Fans aren't causing the difficulties. They are only mirroring what they see. Unfair treatment, obvious player double standards, and evident organizational errors. To dismiss their legitimate concerns as mere poison is to intentionally ignore the reality and exacerbate the very issues that are jeopardizing the WNBA's long-term health and growth. The true toxicity may be found in the stubborn refusal to own internal mistakes and instead blame others. Finally, Stephanie White's extremely contentious statements about toxicity have undeniably exposed much deeper fractures inside the WNBA, forcing the league to make a difficult and essential decision. Will it truly embrace its new, varied, and extremely vocal fan base, listening to their legitimate concerns, or will it continue down this route, alienating them with selective blaming and unresolved internal issues? The entire future of women's professional basketball is riding on this pivotal moment, and a resounding demand for White's removal marks a critical tipping point in which fans are no longer content to be passive spectators but active, engaged participants demanding genuine accountability and respect from all levels of the league.